So I'll just start with the Kirtan till others may join. I think today is weekend and it's also going to be Makar Sankranti and Pongal and all that. So I'm not sure if it's because of that people haven't joined today. Anyway, I'll post this in the YouTube and people can watch it if they're interested later. So I'm just doing a quick Kirtan before starting the chapter 4. बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, माने आनंद भाई बोल हरि बोल, जन्मे सुखे बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, मानव जन्म पे ये मानव जन्मे पे ये भाई बोल हरि बोल, सुखे ठाकुर दुखे ठाकुर बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, संपदे विपदे भाई बोल हरि बोल, गृह ठाकुर बने ठाकुर बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, असत संगे छाड़ी भाई बोल हरि बोल, वैष्णव चरणे पड़ी बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, गौर नित्यानंद बोले बोल हरि बोल, गौर गदाधर बोले बोल हरि बोल, गौर अद्वैत बोले बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल. So I welcome all of you to this level 2 pre-Bhakti Shastri course. This is today we are starting chapter 4. It's a very important chapter. It is called transcendental knowledge. So what is transcendental? Transcendental is, am I audible? Is the screen visible?
Visible Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, Jnana Yoga is basically transcendental knowledge. And what is transcendental? Transcendental basically means para. Para, or basically spiritual. So, there is something called mundane or material, and the opposite of that is spiritual or transcendental. That which we cannot sense with our material senses is called transcendental. So, for example, you can't, you know your mind is working. We know we have intelligence, but these nerve cells and neurons are not making the intelligence of the mind and intelligence are actually subtle bodies, and these cannot be, even if you close your eyes and you look inwards, you can't really see your mind or your intelligence because you're subtle. Similarly, soul is very very sukshma, right? It is it is the higher energy of the Lord, and it's very small. It's 1 by 10,000th part of the tip of the hair, and yet it is so powerful. It spreads consciousness across the body. Anything which is not material, which is related to the spiritual, is called transcendental, that which you cannot perceive with your material senses. So this chapter is Gyan Yoga. It's called the transcendental knowledge. So before I begin, I would like to pay my humble obeisances to this beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda Temple of Bangalore. And whatever I'm sharing is based on the teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And I would like to seek the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, his student, his disciple Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, and also his disciple, the temple president, His Grace Nam Nishtha Das Prabhu. And I would like to remember and thank my Guru, my Shiksha Guru, Aishwarya Mataji. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namasya Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे ओम अज्ञान तिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सादैवतं साधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादं सह गणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे. So, this is the chapter 4. Let's quickly just go through to chapter 3. In chapter 3, it began with Arjuna's doubt about whether renunciation is better or taking action is better. It was based on the seemingly two lines of path which was propounded by Krishna in chapter 2. He didn't mean to do any jugglery of words, but Arjuna wanted to seek clarification. And Krishna clearly declares that renunciation is not acceptable. Mostly he uses words like mithyachara, and people falsely renunciate when they are not really ready. And one needs to always be on the path of work with devotion by giving up the results of your work. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is mainly propounding that's the Buddhi Yoga or the Nishkam Karma Yoga. So Krishna immediately starts discussing what is Nishkama Karma Yoga, and he says that nobody is free from work. And then he systematically takes us from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. He explains how the Vedas are trying to initially, tell us that only by pleasing the demigods can we be getting all the different blessings. So people do all the different rules and regulations as per Vedas, and they serve the demigods. The demigods are happy, and then we looked at the cycle of sacrifice. We also looked at how important, because of cycle of sacrifice, it is to offer the food that we eat, and therefore we should eat only prasadam, because anything else we eat, Krishna uses the word, it is verily sin. If we eat for our own material pleasure, it is definitely sin, because the food actually has come from the grains which have been brought due to rains. The rains have come due to yajna. The yajnas or sacrifices are performed based on the injunctions of the Vedas, and the Vedas have come from the breathing of the Lord himself. This was the whole sacrifice that we discussed about, the circle of sacrifice, and because of which it becomes very important that we offer before we eat. That was a very important teaching of chapter 3. We also saw that basically when we offer the food before we eat, even though, however much we are very careful not to disturb any living entity, even the plants are living, and while we are washing we may kill the germ. There are so many different ways that we will causing harm when we are eating. So when we offer it to God, it's no more karma or vikarma, it becomes a karma. So then the food gets krishnatized, or it gets prasad. Once it becomes prasada, then we honor the prasada, and the whole consciousness changes of the devotee who only has prasada. So we understood how Krishna gradually brings us from the position of karma kanda, when we do all these Vedas and follow sacrifices initially with the aim of getting fruitive results, that we want prosperity, we want children, or we want a good wife or a good husband, and we have those aims. We are totally material and temporary in the beginning, but slowly it takes us to the platform of Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna will give the answer to Arjuna's question related to, if we fight the war, the men will be, will be will have to give up their lives, and then the wives will be used, and there will be Varna Sankara, and there will be the culture will be lost. But Krishna explains very beautifully how If Arjuna thinks like that and doesn't fight, he'll be setting a wrong example, which will lead to even bigger disaster. And Krishna sets his own example, saying that if I actually have no need to do any work because I'm the Lord of the universe. There's nothing that I really need or want, and I'm not bound by karma or anything. But still, I do when I appear on the earth. I do whatever is prescribed as per the position, and he follows everything to the T. That's because he wants to set an example. So Krishna talks about why yad yad acharati shrestha. So it's very important. Arjuna was in a very highly revered position, and so it was important for him to show that he would do his duty, come what may, not bothered about satisfying his own material senses or whatever he thinks is happiness for himself. He would rather do what Krishna wants him to do, knowing that this is dharma. And the greatest enemy we discussed is, I had to hurry a little, but I think that part we had been discussing throughout is lust and anger. And we went back and reflected upon the chapter 2, which talks about Dhayato Vishad Punsa. That is the moment you start getting attached to material things around you and then you dwell on it, then you start moving from your thinking stage, you bring those material desires to your feeling stage and then to your willing stage, and then it ultimately no lust can ever give you satisfaction. So it will definitely lead to anger and dissatisfaction and wanting more or more greed, which will ultimately lead to disillusionment, and then it will lead to your fall from the spiritual path. So these were the discussions of chapter 3, which was predominantly karma yoga. So Krishna talks about not karma, just doing things, but doing it as an offering to the Lord. So he talks about karma yoga over here. We will again in chapter 5 be doing a more detailed understanding of karma of karma yoga, how to give your results to Krishna. How it's a tough thing to do, so Krishna goes on repeating for our benefit. Now, in chapter 4, we will try to do section 1 and 2 today, and next week we will try and finish the chapter 4 entirely. So, today we are going to see section 1, which is basically knowledge about how Krishna is transcendental. So, from 4.1 and 4.2, Krishna will be speaking, and then Arjuna will ask a question, and in reply, Krishna will explain beautifully how he is basically the Lord of the universe. He is a supreme Lord. And that is what is the toughest thing for most people to actually understand. Understanding that Krishna is the supreme Lord is, although we say it and we kind of, some of us even pretend that we have understood, but it's a very deep concept to really accept Krishna as a Lord of the universe, which is why Krishna keeps on repeating again and again in the Bhagavad Gita that look, I am the Lord of the universe. You have to accept that, and then you will have achieved the purpose of your life. So that is section 1. 8 o'clock. And then in section 2, so once he establishes that, in section 2, Krishna will talk about how he is a creator of the Varnashrama system. This is again a very, very tough concept, which initially even I was finding it difficult, especially with so much of talk about the caste system being detrimental to society and people hating the Sanatana Dharma itself because they don't like the Varnashrama system. But if you really understand the Bhagavad Gita from the point of view of a devotee, and you're able to see Krishna has spoken the word. So there is no partiality. Krishna said this thing I accept, and Krishna said that, but that I don't accept. So there, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has clearly stated that in that case it's better not to accept anything. So once you're looking at Bhagavad Gita, you accept that Krishna is a Lord. Krishna is repeatedly saying, look, I am the supreme Lord of the universe. And he is repeatedly explaining, and he says, look, I am the creator of the Varnashrama. And then it's not just straight away that he has created the caste system, but he explains repeatedly in so many chapters about how it is scientifically done, and there is nothing that is so transparent. There is nothing injustice in the world at all. There is nothing which is happening that is unjust in this universe, because it is created by the Lord. It is perfectly perfect. It is 100% perfect. We have no control over what we are going through now, because it is entirely based on our past karma and our past gunas. Krishna says guna karma vibhagasha. This whole division is only based on gunas and karmas. Whatever gunas we have been promoting in our previous lives, we are forced to be in that particular guna initially. We can of course change, and whatever karmas we have done in the past, the consequences of it right now we are undergoing. Now, that doesn't mean that there is no choice that we have for our destiny. We have limited choice. We are bound by the karmas and gunas, not by birth. Krishna clearly says, he doesn't say janma. He says guna karma vibhagasha. It is only the birth we have received in whichever position is entirely based on our own past karmas, entirely based upon the gunas that we have ourselves given weightage to, Satogun, Tamogun, or Rajogun. It's based on that we are where we are. And then based on that, Krishna is so benevolent that whatever position you are, he says, whether you're a Shudra or whether you're a woman. And some people hate that verse where he says that, thinking that why is he putting them down? He's not. He's just saying that because of your past gunas and karmas, whatever position you are in, you're still mine. I am the father to everyone. Come back to me. From any position, you can come back. It's just that you need the human body. So he says that the human body is the pathway to reach Krishna, because our consciousness is higher in the human body. Animals and plants and all other of those 4 lakh 20,000, 8 lakh 20,000 species is, among the human species. Other than that, all of them are in lower consciousness. Therefore, they're not eligible to, their consciousness is covered so much that they are unable to come to Krishna consciousness. But when you get the human birth, you have to start on this journey of spiritual understanding. So these two will be understanding today. Hopefully, I'll finish in 4.15 in the next 40 minutes. And then we can do this, the last three sections next week on Thursday. So let's start with the first section, which is transcendental knowledge about Krishna from 4.1 to 4.10. So the first verse says, Shri Bhagavanuvacha imam vivasvate yugam Bhuktavanahamavvyayam vivasvan manave praha munirikshvakave bhavit. So the Blessed Lord said that I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So this very verse is, usually suddenly put somebody aback. Same as Arjuna also expresses that. How is it possible that Krishna can give it to the sun god? First of all, sun and the god and sun as a person, Vivaswan being the sun god. These concepts are very difficult for us to understand, but we are in our frog mentality. We want to understand everything only as per our frog mentality, what we know. We are not able to understand that the whole universe is such a magnificent, very vast material universe full of so many universes, and then the spiritual world, and the sun is actually a sun god, Vivaswan. These concepts, immediately we think this verse is basically like myth. This is not a verse, I consider it, to be acceptable. Other verse maybe something else which pleasing to you, you can accept. But what is unpleasing to you, no, this one let me reject. This is what people would generally do. So this verse, it's very important to understand because it establishes that Krishna is God. Why is that? So for example, just as a country has, for example, a chief executive head. For example, we have our prime minister. Similarly, there is a chief executive head for our planetary system. And this, the present predominating deity as per our scriptures in the sun planet is a person called Vivaswan. He is a sun god to whom Krishna could say the Vedic literature to him. So do you think that this verse is like a joke in between? Krishna says, okay, let me say something funny and something unreal. Oh, I spoke it to sun god, let me just make it a little unreal and funny. No, it's not that actually. Krishna is clearly saying, and Krishna says that Avajanati ma mudha. In verse 9.11, Krishna says that fools, who are ignorant. It's sad. There are ignorant people. Most of us are ignorant. They deride Krishna when Krishna, the Lord of the universe, he has descended in the human form. They deride him. Avajanati ma mudha. Mudha means stupid people, fools, ignorant people. They don't actually know that Krishna is transcendental. He is now in this. That's why this chapter is called transcendental knowledge. Fools do not know that Krishna is Advaita, which means he is not body and soul. He is the transcendental super soul himself who has appeared on the earth. And people don't understand that. They think that he's probably some human being who has got some yoga and merged with God for some time. What so many, so many definitions you will find in the world where people cannot accept Krishna as God. They cannot. So Krishna himself is saying that Avajanati Ma Muda, fools will deride me. They don't know my transcendental nature. They don't know my supreme dominion over everything. In India, however, there are so many acharyas. They have accepted Krishna as a supreme Lord, whether it is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya. Even Shankaracharya has actually said that Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead. He has said that in spite of having different other theories which he has propounded, he has said that Krishna is the Lord. So everyone can understand this entire science of Krishna or Krishna consciousness only if they accept Krishna as God. So the yoga of Bhagavad Gita, he's saying this entire yoga of the Bhagavad Gita to sun God, which is Vivaswan. So this thing, however, like I told you, it does not really require any huge interpretation. If you just know that the Lord is not like an ordinary man, because we cannot go and start talking to the sun god. Okay, let me go to the sun god and talk to him. And that would sound really foolish. But why should we calculate Krishna's activities according to my own activities? That is frog or owl mentality. So all commentaries which go and talk about Krishna as ordinary man, if this verse is said, it becomes null and void, unless they will say that this verse alone is cannot be accepted, or there are similar such verses are to be out of the Gita. It's not really true. But that, then the whole, it doesn't make really any sense. So that is the reason why this verse comes, these two verses 1 and 2 become really important. First, understand that you have to accept God, and second, you have to accept the importance of parampara. Parampara is very important in the spiritual studies, because people are, limited senses. They will make so many different concoctions and theories using their own minds, and they don't turn to the Aparusha scriptures, which are not written by man, but Krishna himself has said it. They will not turn to it or accept it, and so they will come up with so many theories. So then you should not get misled by all the variety of interpretations, or it is rightfully said misinterpretations, you will find in the market. You need to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. So transcendental knowledge about Krishna should be received by disciplic succession through the words of a true bhakta who knows Krishna as God. And only then the Bhagavad Gita will be able to reveal the truth to you, and you will start accepting Krishna's form, his birth, and his activities, and you will start relishing them once you start seeing them as divine or transcendental. And when the transcendental knowledge or the jnana will come slowly, it will reveal, you will start being able to love Krishna, which is the purpose of human life. So knowing these truths, you will start taking shelter of Krishna, and then you will become purified, and then you will be able to ultimately attain Krishna. Hopefully, that let's all pray and hope that we don't take another birth, that we're able to free ourselves from this material body and subtle body, and actually go back to Krishna. It's a very tough thing, but yes, we have to take challenges. So Bhagavad Gita was delivered by the Lord to the royal order of the planets, beginning from the sun planet. Why the royal order? So actually the kings are supposed to teach the citizens what is true dharma, what is ultimate truth, which is far from what's happening for a long time in Kali Yuga now. And the sun is the king of all planets. The king of all planets needs to understand the Bhagavad Gita so that it will rule the citizens and protect them from the material bondage to lust. The message that human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge should be conveyed to citizens through education, culture, and devotion. We have only very few, for example, the ISKCON and the other, the four paramparas, which are doing this. Otherwise, schools and colleges are far from teaching. They're literally, taking children away from Krishna. They're really making them adharmis and karmis and making them run after fruitive things, making them compete against each other. It's a cruel thing that's happening. Actually, I would say it's so much adharmic that's going on. No knowledge is given in the schools and colleges, just skills. But skills are very much needed for us to survive and live in this world and keep our body and soul together so that we can have spiritual advancement. But that spiritual advancement, even the seed is not sown in the children, unfortunately. Probably because these souls have, maybe greatly sinned and not ready for it. Of course, Krishna knows everything. However, that is why we have these great gurus who have come on the earth, including Srila Prabhupada, Namnishna Prabhu. They are given their whole life for the propagation of Krishna consciousness because it has been said in the scriptures that in this Kali Yuga it is very, very necessary. We need people who will talk what the scriptures are actually saying, and there will be people who are now ready. For example, some of us here and very few of us actually sadly who are here to just enjoy discussing Krishna consciousness and trying to understand the seriousness of propagation of Krishna consciousness. So in this millennium the sun god is Vivaswan, the king of planets, and the sun planet is the origin of all planets in the solar system. And in the Brahma Samhita 5.52 it is stated Yakshakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahanam is Brahma Samhita. Yakshakshuresh Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Rashesha Tejaha Yasya Brahma Hi Samritta Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So, the Lord Krishna originally made Vivaswan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita, the standard book coming down from time immemorial. And even the history of Gita is given in the Mahabharata in the Shanti Parva as Treta Yugadau Chatato Vivaswan Manavedadau Manushya Loka Bhrityartham Suta Yekshvaka Vedadau Ikshvakuna Chakathaka Ikshvakuna Chakathato Vyapayo Lokanavasthita. It means that in Treta Yuga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to his lawgiver's son Manu. Manu was the father of mankind and he gave this to Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the earth planet and the forefather of the Raghu dynasty in which Lord Ramchandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. So here we are going to quickly look at the whole time frame very soon. We will look at and try and understand how vast the time, how immensely deep is the understanding of time in our scriptures. So looking at verse 4.2, Evam parampada praptim himam rajashaya vidu sakale neha mahato yogo nashtah parantapa. For this supreme science was received a chain of disciplinic succession, and saintly kings initially understood it that way. But in course of time, sakale neha, the succession was broken and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So of course this material world is basically the jail of criminals who have all wanted to turn away from Krishna and have to, they wanted to lord over it. And so they, as the time goes, as Krishna knows very well it's going to happen, the science will as it is appear to be lost. It will be misinterpreted, it will be misread, and then there'll be these demons who are here in this material world much deserving the kind of suffering that they have to undergo in the material world. And so they this the original message is totally lost. That's what Krishna is saying, evam parampara prapti Sakalinya Yoga Nashta Parantapa. So the entire teaching gets lost over in due course of time. So looking at the time frame, what is the time as per scriptures? At the present moment, this is basically, I'll just quickly read through, it's just for an understanding of how, how vast the knowledge is. I request all of you who are here, I think 7 of you, if you exclude Ravi Prabhu, 6 of you, please mark your attendance for level 2 class that you're attending today. So, at the present moment, we have passed through 5,000 years of Kali Yuga. It's only 5,000 years. And Kali Yuga, like I had said in an earlier class, is actually 4 lakh 32,000 years. Even beyond our understanding, like how many more generations is even difficult to calculate. So, before this Kali Yuga, there was Dwapar Yuga, which had existed for 800,000 years, and before that, Treta Yuga has existed for 1,200,000 years, and thus you can imagine that Manu was there so many, like 2,005,000 years ago. Manu had spoken this Bhagavad Gita to Maharaj Ikshvaku, who was then the king of the planet. So in those days, there weren't all these so many divisions of countries and everything. The whole Earth planet was like one country so many millions and millions of years ago. And the king of the entire Earth planet was Maharaj Ikshvaku. So this is our current Manu. This Manu, the father of Ikshvaku, is our, in our Manu. So we will understand what is our Manu when we go through more, we expand and go through more number of years. So 3053 and 50, that many years have of that have the age of current Manu is calculated to last so many number of years, of which this many number of years are past. I don't want to read this tough number, but you can just kind of understand how vast it is. And accepting that before the birth of Manu himself, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to the sun god Vivaswan. So Gita was spoken roughly how many years ago? It was like 120,400,000 years ago. That was when Krishna spoke. This is only about our universe. There are so many universes. So in this our universe, to our Manu, whose father was sun god Vivaswan, Gita was spoken to him so many million years ago, 120 million 400,000 years ago, and it has been existing in our human society for 2 million years and re-spoken now just 5,000 years ago. Therefore, because Gita was totally misinterpreted and it lost its true purport, it was re-spoken by the Lord to Arjuna, and still now misinterpretation is going on because of the demoniac nature of the material world, which is basically the jail for the criminals. So then people will continue doing that. And it was spoken to the sun god because he is also a Kshatriya. Why is it spoken to kings or Kshatriyas? So that they will be able to explain it to others. And Vivaswan was a Kshatriya, the father of all Kshatriyas, a descendant of the sun god or Surya Vamsha Kshatriya. So Bhagavad Gita is like the Vedas spoken by the Lord of Paurusheya. So this is one important point to understand before really going into the Gita, that this is not a something which human beings have written, which most people who don't want to believe, they will just say that how do you know this is not not written by human. What do you mean by publishing? So once we can't accept that, then there is no point in explaining the Gita to them. They're probably just not ready, but devotees will keep trying. So Gita is therefore to be accepted without any mundane interpretation. Only then the wisdom will come once you're able to reach that stage of humility to accept this, that it is apaurishaya. And without any mundane trying to understand and keep on using your limited senses, frog mentality to understand it. So Lord Krishna has actually given the Bhagavad Gita in 4 different disciplinary successions of paramparas. There is the Brahma, to which we are belonging, Madhvacharya. The Brahma Madhvacharya lineage is our Prabhupada's lineage. There is also Sri Lakshmi Ji, among which the predominant guru is Ramanujacharya. And we have the Lord Shiva's lineage, where Krishna gives the Gita to Lord Shiva and then passes on to one of the major saints of this is Vishnu Swami. And then the 4 Kumaras. Krishna gives the Bhagavad Gita to the 4 Kumaras, and from the 4 Kumaras comes one of the major acharyas is a Nimbarkacharya. So these 4 disciplic successions are going on. The ISKCON movement, which comes with Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is from the Madhvacharya Brahma Parampara. So the four main paramparas, or basically disciplinic chains of disciplinic succession descending through the important acharyas or spiritual preceptors, is what we just saw. Basically, it means the main schools of thought. They are all actually teaching the same thing with some minor differences. That's all. So it's very important to understand that when you learn scriptures, or when you learn spiritual, wanted to seek spiritual knowledge, it should be through one of these sampradayas. Which, like for example, if you want to be a doctor, you go to some university, some random person is teaching you something, and nobody is going to take you as a proper doctor unless you've studied in a proper medical college, which is giving you a certificate which is validity. You won't be, it's not considered to be a valid doctorate. So similarly, you need to be in the sampradaya. Shri Sampradaya, like I just said, the main proponent is Ramanujacharya, who lived in the 12th century. He was born in 1016, propagated the doctrine of the Vishishta Advaita, oneness, varieties of the Lord and his energies, and it actually originated from Shri. So it's called the Shri Sampradaya, or Lakshmi, goddess Lakshmi. Brahma Sampradaya, main exponent. Madhvacharya, he lived in 13th century, born in 1238, propagated the Vishishta Dvaita, duality with varieties, originated from Lord Brahma. The Rudra Sampradaya, the main exponent is Vishnu Swami. He propagated the doctrine Shuddha Dvaita, which is pure monism. Vallabhacharya is also a branch of this Sampradaya, and this is said to have originated from Shiva or Rudra. Hamsa, Chatushrana, Kumara, and Sanat Sampradaya, the main exponent of Nimbarka, who propagated the doctrine called Dvaita Advaita, or simultaneous oneness and duality, said to have originated from Lord Brahma's sons, that is the four Kumaras, of which Sanat Kumara is the one of the important ones. So the significance of parampara is the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, therefore, as we can see, everywhere, as you can see, originates from Krishna. Only then it is the true word of Krishna. Otherwise, it's all twisted by people who have got their own selfish desires. They want to propagate it and bring it to their level of understanding, without understanding that this is apaurushaya, to be accepted as it is without any stupid interpretation. So these are the main schools of thought. In the Vedic tradition, one should belong to one of these sampradayas. Yeah, I think I finished this. The knowledge of Gita must be accepted without material interpretation or mental speculation, and this understanding cannot come simply. You can't say, okay, I'm going to understand the Gita. It has to, happen only by, it actually happens only when the Lord's mercy is there, because He's sitting in our heart. He says that He gives us understanding, He gives us knowledge, He gives us memory, He gives us forgetfulness. So whenever it is that we have turned to Him and sought the true knowledge, Krishna will be merciful and He will give it to us, and we will be able to understand it through whichever gurus come into our life. Krishna will, he is a Chaitya Guru, and he will come in the external world as a Guru, and a Guru will be representative of Krishna, who will be graceful to show us that he is the Supreme Lord, and we will be able to understand. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita must be accepted from someone who has achieved the Lord's mercy. A blind man, or a person whose hands are bound, who is also conditioned, who has not understood Krishna, he's blabbering and blabbering, cannot give you any knowledge. It should be someone who is free, who is no longer conditioned, who is self-realized, who is Krishna conscious. Only he can be able to help us, to free us from our bondage and make us also Krishna conscious and liberated. So this is very important. The proper qualification, having learned it properly from someone having the proper qualification, who has learned it properly, etc., etc. Only then that's called parampara. So again, let's expand to understand why we are saying our Manu. So there are so many Manus actually. So let's begin from the lowermost rung. We can look at this Kali Yuga. As I said, it is Kali Yuga is consisting of, that is a span of 4,32,000 years, of which only 5,000 has passed. Before that, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga. So these are the four yugas which together form one Divya Yuga. And one Divya Yuga will be, will be in the life of is called will make one manvantara, and that is 71 divya yugas will make one manvantara, and similarly 14 such manvantaras will is making 1 plus 15 sandhyas is making the one day of Brahma, and one day of Brahma is Kalpa. It's really unimaginable, actually. It's so huge, so many different. Just one yuga itself is so incomprehensible for us. Then four such yugas, and then 71 such divya yugas together will form the 14 manvantras will form one day of Brahma. Pardon me if I'm making some error, but this is really a huge concept to understand. For some people it may be pretty simple, but this is how we understand the life of Brahma has passed 50 years right now. According to his year is very huge. One day, as we saw, is made up of so many divya yugas, and six manvantaras are over. 27 cycles of four yugas are over. Satya, Treta, and Dwapara. And time elapsed in Kali Yuga is right now this much. So this is the present life of Brahma. Very huge number. It's like incalculable for a human understanding. So it is, you could say, it is 155.5.22 trillion years is the present life of Brahma. What about our Manu? So many. This is the entire calculation. And so accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita to was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivaswan. So Gita was actually spoken about 120 million years ago to Vivaswan. In the Mahabharata Shanti Parva, we can trace out the history. So basically, why are we talking so much? The 4.1 point, these first few verses are talking about the history of Gita. So it's saying that in the beginning of Treta Yuga millennium, this science of relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu, being the father of mankind. He gave it to Ikshvaku, that is the king of, that is, he gave it to his son. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to Manu's son, Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of the earth planet, and the forefather of the Raghu dynasty. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita actually has existed in the human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku, which is so many years. So Gita came on the earth 2 million years ago. Rishi is a sun planet, and then it came to the earth 2 million years ago. So this is a calculation and explanation of it. So 1 day of Brahma is equal to so many years. 1 hour of Brahma is so many years. 1 minute of Brahma is like 6 million years, and 1 second of Brahma is 100,000 years. It's really unbelievable to understand. But maybe if you look at the concept that suppose you keep traveling to higher and higher levels, the whole concept of time changes. And maybe when you study physics, students may be able to comprehend that little, how in different how the different levels the time changes. For example, in Brahma's planet, just 1 second would be 100,000 years on the earth. So that and then 1 day so many years, 1 day of Brahma has so many years, like that Brahma has like 100 years of his life. So it's like for Brahma it's very different time zone he is in. So that very ancient science of the relationship with um, sorry, the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you. Why? So this 4.3 is very important to understand who is eligible to understand the Gita. Krishna is saying in 4.3 that he will give this knowledge only to those who are his devotee and his friend. So he says, I am giving this knowledge to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So here we can see the two qualifications required by one to understand Krishna. Everyone cannot be able to accept this Krishna's message of the Bhagavad Gita. So moving on to 4.4. Yes, as I said, Arjuna is a devotee and friend, accepts Krishna as supreme God, so only devotees can understand. So Arjuna's doubt now. So we are going to see how Arjuna, as just as we, any of us would have a doubt, the doubt Arjuna has is, how can Krishna, you have been born as a son of Devaki, and how can you be the one to instruct Vivaswan like millions and millions of years ago? How is it possible? So Arjuna is actually having no doubt about this. He's asking this just for our benefit because he knows this Gita is going to be, used as a source of knowledge in future. So for our benefit, he is asking these questions. Arjuna is asking, um, aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvata kathametadvijaniyam tvamado proktavaniti. So he's asking, why is Arjuna asking? To defy the demoniac and atheistic people who will say that Krishna is ordinary. And he wants Krishna to speak authoritatively. So Arjuna is inquiring these for those who do not believe in God. Arjuna knows perfectly that Krishna is God. He has no doubt about it. The fountainhead of everything and the last word in transcendence is Krishna. Krishna appeared as a son of Devaki and Vasudeva. He only appeared as a Lord. It is his benediction that he appeared. And atheists who consider Krishna as an ordinary man, they come to know that Krishna is superhuman. So he just wants, at least some of them might come to know that he is actually superhuman by understanding this part of Arjuna's question and then your answer. So Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha, eternal form of bliss and knowledge. He is transcendental, that he is above the dominion of the material modes and above the influence of time and space. So Krishna Tara took place during the Sandhya Kala, transit time in the Dwapara Yuga, in sorry, the 20th Mahayuga of Vaivaswata Manvantara. So Lord Shri Krishna, considered as a Paripurna avatar, he appeared as he is, of Lord Sri Narayana, took birth in Chandravamsha and Yadu dynasty in the clan of Vrishni. Krishna was born to the noble couple Vasudeva and his consort Devaki Devi as their eighth child. Devaki and Vasudeva in their previous births, Krishna will not just appear to anybody. These two people, Devaki and Vasudeva, in their previous birth, they had performed severe penance for 7,000 years to have Lord Mahavishnu as their child for 3 lives. And as a result, Lord Srimad Narayana took birth as Prishni Garbha first in the Krita or Satya Yuga to the divine couple Prishni and Sutapa, and then as the Lord Vamana to the divine sage couple Kashyapa and Aditi in the Vamana Avatara in Treta Yuga, and thirdly, he comes as Krishna to Devaki and Vasudeva. So this Devaki and Vasudeva are the same as the other three, two, and Krishna comes in different forms. The Lord comes in different forms, and finally he comes in his Paripurna Avatara, the Shri Krishna Avatara in the Dwapar Yuga, fulfilling the boon that he had given to them because they were great devotees. Before taking birth, in fact, he just didn't come in a normal procedure. Before taking birth itself, he gave darshan to his parents in his original form of Lord Srimad Narayana and reminding of their lineage and the boon given to them. So Krishna reveals his position. How could you tell Bhagavad Gita to the sun god when Arjuna is asking if he's senior by birth to you? So Parantapa is, O subduer of enemy, one who gives to others this transcendental knowledge. So let's look at the verse 4.5. Krishna is now going to explain to Arjuna's question. Arjuna asks this question. Krishna is going to explain. He says, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni Me Vyatitani Janmani Tavacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veda Parantapa. So the translation is, the personality of Godhead said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. So in this verse, once more, we are able to see that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. We are able to see the ultimate truth as is also given in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. So I would just like to quickly go through Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Maybe after 4.5 and 4.6 we can do that. So in 4.6, which is also a related verse, Krishna says, Ajopi san avyayatma भूतानामीश्वरोऽपि सन् प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय सम्भवाम्यात्ममायया He says that although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, this is the ultimate truth basically, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So these two verses are really, really important to understand that Krishna is the Lord, and that is the ultimate truth which comes as the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So, requesting everybody to kindly fill the attendance. A reminder for all of you who have taken your time off on a Friday. It's going to be weekend. So, let's quickly look at this Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, which is a very beautiful verse. It goes Janmadhyasya Yatena Janmadhyasya Yatonvayaditaratash Chartheshvabhignah Swarat तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदा यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तु कुहकम् सत्यं परं धीमहि. So this is basically the ultimate truth. This verse tells us what is the ultimate truth. The translation is that, oh my Lord, Krishna, son of Vasudeva, he is all pervading personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord. I offer my respectful obeisances. This is the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it says, I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is absolute truth, the primeval cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, like how he just says, he gives the answer now in the next verses. He is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. And by him, even the great sages and demigods are actually placed in illusion, and people are bewildered. Even the demigods are bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universe is temporarily manifested by reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual. So these, everything is temporary, and everything is, although they appear factual, although they are unreal. Why are they unreal? Because they're temporary, and you are the source of all of that. And I meditate upon you, O Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode. So he is there always in the eternal abode, who is forever free from illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him because he is the absolute truth. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1 gives us this ultimate truth. And we also understand here the difference between Krishna and the difference between us. So Krishna's form, this is really crucial to understand. It is spiritual. He is not having a body with a soul within. He's not like that. He is a spiritual form, whereas our form is temporary. We are controlled by Maya, whereas Krishna is the controller of the Maya. So as we can see, these comparisons are given very beautifully here. So the summarized differences in the 4.5 and 4.6 verses are that Krishna is eternal. He remembers past, present, and future. And we are, although we are eternal, we are conditioned, and therefore we forget. Krishna remembers all the births, not only of his, but everybody, wherever he has appeared, everything and everybody's births, because his body does not change, it does not deteriorate, it is avyayam. But we forget because of our body keeps changing from one body to another, and we keep deteriorating. Krishna will just appear by his own will, for the, and he will say in the next verses why he appears. Whereas the, human, we the living entities, we are forced to appear. We have no control over what is the next body we are going to take. We will have to take the body based on our karma and guna. And Krishna's body is transcendental. Our body is very much material, made up of all these gross elements. And Krishna, there is no difference. That's why it's Advaita between body and self. His body itself is transcendental, whereas we have a soul within, covered by the gross and subtle material bodies outside us. So this is a very crucial point to understand. Lord's Prakriti, nature, and Swarupa and his form, we need to understand the Lord appears in his own eternal body. It is not that he has got, somebody has imagined that, okay, this is the form of the God. It's not like that. This is the God's eternal body. Krishna is saying that it is his eternal body, and he is two-handed in his original Goloka, where he is there perpetually. Although he is, he is a Lord, so he can appear in everywhere. He is everywhere. He is in everyone's heart. At the same time, in his original eternal body, he is with the two hand. He is two-handed with the flute. Common living entity changes from one body to another. Although Krishna's body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna is growing from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth. But astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. So at the time of Battle of Kurukshetra, he had actually many grandchildren at home. Or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still, he looked very young, like 20, 24 years. We never see a picture of Krishna in the old age because he actually never grows old like us, although he's the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence will ever deteriorate or change, and therefore it's clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. So 4.7 and 4.8 are going to talk about his activities. It's going to explain when and why Krishna appears, what is the reason for his descent. When does he appear? Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya nirbhavati bharata abhyudhanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijanyaham. Whenever there is a decline in religious practice, O Krishna, O descendant of Bharata, predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So when does the Lord appear and disappear? Also, the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of Dwapar Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma. He has no obligation to adhere to any of these rules and regulations because he's free to act at his own free will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion. What is religion? It is principles laid down in the Vedas. Any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of Vedas makes one irreligious. Therefore, the principles of dharma or religion are orders of the Supreme Lord Himself. Highest principle of religion is simply to surrender to Krishna and nothing more. Whenever these principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. So in this context, I think it is very important for us to understand exactly what is dharma. So people usually, when they look at the word dharma, they think that it is religion, or they think that it is faith. But faith, we can say that people can have different faiths, and that faith is also right. This faith is also right. Anybody's faith is right. So that concept actually doesn't make sense, because then there is no need for Krishna to descend upon the planet at all. So if anyone accepts his own religion, then that is not the right definition of dharma. So dharma does not mean that you manufacture something. That is why Krishna says yada yada hi dharmasya. So what is dharma? Dharma is a natural tendency that one has. It's a natural occupational duty, natural characteristic. For example, sugar is sweet. The sweetness of sugar is the dharma of sugar. Chili will be very hot. The hotness is the dharma of chili. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.19, the Shastras are saying Dharma to Sakshat Bhagavan. Dharma means the order of the Supreme Lord. And what is the Lord telling us? He tells us, later on he also tells us Paritrana Sadhuna, and Krishna will be telling us in 18.66, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. Because that is a true Dharma. So Krishna is basically trying to make it very clear that our true nature is to surrender to him. Anyway we are surrendering, but we are not surrendering to Krishna. Why? Because we are diseased right now. We are criminals. We are in a disease. It's like as if it's a hospital or a jail, and Krishna is here, coming here just to bring us back to the original dharma, which is to surrender to him. That's why in this Gita, that's what he's doing. It's, anyway we keep surrendering to our bosses or to spouses or to money, or to we're surrendering to something. But when you realize what is your true dharma, which is to surrender to Krishna, who's a real person, then then that is when we will be realized. So that is the purpose of Krishna to, when we come here to establish dharma, and the meaning of dharma needs to be very clearly understood in this context. So, Lord Buddha and incarnation of Krishna appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of authority of Vedas. Although there are several restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for purposes in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendencies, they just took to animal sacrifice without reference to Vedic principles. So, Lord Buddha, he wanted to stop this nonsense and establish the Vedic principle of non-violence. And to establish that, he actually goes to say that stop following the Vedas. And each and every avatara or incarnation of Lord actually comes with a particular mission described in the revealed scriptures. And no one should be accepted as an avatar unless it is referred to by scriptures. So Lord can manifest himself everywhere and anywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by particular people under their particular circumstance. But the mission is the same, which is to lead people to God consciousness and obedience of the principles of religion. So why Krishna comes as Buddha and actually says there is no God? God, Krishna knows the purpose. It's based on the people of those times and based on the circumstances at that time. And when he is coming as an avatar, it is mentioned in the scriptures. He will reveal it. However, there are many people who are highly elevated gurus who will lead us to Krishna. And we revere them as Krishna because they are representatives of Krishna. These gurus, we revere them as Krishna because they are representatives of Krishna leading us to Him. So sometimes He descends personally, sometimes He will send His bona fide representative in the form of His son or His servant or Himself in some disguised form. Whole purpose is to arouse Krishna consciousness. Why does he appear? Paritrana sadhuna vinashaya dushkritam dharma sansthapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. It is to deliver the pious. There are two purposes: to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreant. So, what does the government do? The government is protecting the people who are law-abiding, and then they are punishing the people who are breaking the laws. That is the prime goal of the government, so that there is law and order is prevailed. So similarly, Krishna is the Lord of the universe. He says, I am the Father, I am the Lord, I am the Supreme Controller. And so he comes here to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants and to re-establish the principles of not just simply faith or anything, but the real religion, which is to abide by Krishna's words as in the scriptures. So he appears himself millennium after millennium just for these two purposes. So I think we'll end today with the 4.8 because it's already 8 o'clock. We'll start from 4.9 next class. Lord appears in different incarnations to deliver the devotee and vanquish the demon miscreants. The demon harasses the devotee even though the latter may happen to be his kin. Although Prahlad Maharaj was the son of Hiranyakashipu, he was nonetheless persecuted by his father. Although Devaki, the mother of Krishna, was a sister of Kamsa, she and her husband Vasudeva were persecuted only because Krishna was born to them. So Krishna appeared primarily to deliver Devaki rather than to kill Kamsa, but both were performed simultaneously. So such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material creation, they assume the name of Avatara. There are various kinds of avatars such as Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Shakti avatars, Manvantara avatars, Yuga avatars. These require a lot of contemplation and study. If you look at the Goloka chart actually and you look at the whole series of explanation of Goloka chart, many things become very clear. Lord Shri Krishna descends for the specific purpose of mitigating the anxieties of pure devotees who are very anxious to see him, and therefore the prime purpose of Krishna Avatara is to satisfy his unalloyed devotees. Incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by Sankirtan movement and spread Krishna consciousness. This avatar of Lord does not kill miscreants but delivers them by causeless mercy. So that is the difference between Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is the benefit of knowing about Krishna's appearance is given in 4.9. Okay, let's do 4.9 also. This is very beautiful. It says that Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatpataha Tyaktva Deham Punar Janma Naiti Mamiti Soljana. This 4.9 actually requires a little bit of talking about because it's very beautiful and why it's so important to understand Janma Karma Chame Divyam, to understand the transcendental nature of Krishna's Janma and Karma. Divyam, transcendental. Janma, birth. Karma, all the different activities or leelas that he does. Evam yo veti, knowing. Tattvataha, who understands that as it is. It is. Tyaktva deham. Such a person only and only and only and no one else. Such a person only will be able to tyaktva deham. When he leaves his body. Punarjanma naiti. They will not have a rebirth. They will not take a body again. Ma meti. They will come back to me. So Arjuna. So he says, Krishna tells Arjuna that this is, the fact that once you know that Krishna is transcendental, that's why the chapter is called Transcendental Knowledge, and you understand that all his leelas and his birth and everything is transcendental and it is divya, then you will not have birth and death. Otherwise, you will simply be roaming and roaming and roaming in this material world in different bodies again and again for millions of births. So Hare Krishna from 4.9. I'll just revise 4.9 next class and I'll start again. And I hope I'm not overdoing anything, or I hope I'm doing justice to the chapter 4. I just felt that bringing about the main point that Krishna is a Lord is what is to be understood to understand verses 4.1 and 2. Otherwise, there we get stuck with the idea which most people say that, oh, this is all myth. And so I thought, it is, we are all still really understanding Krishna as a person and having to love him, and we're chanting and chanting to get understand Krishna. And so detailing and understanding that, speaking about that and listening, I thought will be beneficial. I hope I am doing justice. Hare Krishna. Please give me any comments or suggestions or any reflections before I end the class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll do 4.9 onwards next class, and which will be next week Thursday. And please let me know if there is anything you would want me to change, or any strategy that you think I should go faster or slower or anything, or I should not do something in a particular way, because it should be beneficial. This time that you're spending should be beneficial for you as well as for me. Thank you, Virendra Prabhu. हरे कृष्ण वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. हरे कृष्णा.